Hi Baes, welcome back to my channel. If this is your first time joining me, my name is Ofentse and I'm your book bae. Your book bae is once again in the building with another video. I'm apologizing in advance for the setup for the last couple of videos and probably for the foreseeable future. I'm actually not sure when we'll move back to our original setup. I know that someone once told me that filming in front of a door is distracting because people are always expecting someone to walk through it, but I promise you nobody is walking through the door. So yeah, but I hope you're well. If you are a returning subscriber, thank you so much for the support, and if you are a newbie or you're just passing by, please do consider subscribing and welcome to the fold. On this channel we do bookish and lifestyle content. So in this video I will be discussing, it's just a brief discussion on a book that was sent to me by an author called Jasmine Obi. She approached me on Instagram and it's in line with her series. So essentially she writes a lot of empowerment books for Black women and Black girls in particular, and this particular book that we will be reviewing is Affirmations for Black Girls. I thought it was a really cute read and an awesome concept. So without further ado, let's get into the video. Starting off strong, we'll be discussing the synopsis or the structure of the book. Since this book doesn't necessarily have like a beginning, middle, and end or plot per se, I'll discuss how the book is actually broken up or written. So essentially what happens is the chapter starts...
Do you want to skits?
Sure. Well, now I have to start again. I promised you guys that nobody would come into the door, and I guess I was wrong. But yeah, shout out to the lunch order. So in any case, it's a really cute book. It's about, the book is called Affirmations for Black Girls, and it's essentially just this book that just encourages young Black girls. It's something to rewire your thinking. So in terms of the structure itself, the chapters, it's broken up into specific chapters with affirmations on specific things. So what happens is the chapter starts and it kind of introduces the affirmations and why they're important, that particular subject matter. Let's give an example, affirmations for Black girls in the workplace, and we'll talk about things like I am strong, I am capable, I am worthy of taking up space, I deserve to be here, that type of thing. I'm exceptional, those types of things, right? And then after the write-up explaining or contextualizing the chapter, you go into specific affirmations, right? With like the ones that I just mentioned. And then after that, there's an opportunity, something like a jar, where, so the book is also quite interactive. It's also like a workbook, similar to Mpumi Ledwaba's book. It also has an opportunity for you to write and take notes and reflect. So after the affirmations comes like something like a page of a jar of affirmations. So basically you would then take some of the affirmations from the chapter that were impactful and spoke to you, and then you would physically write them in this jar of affirmations which spoke to me, etc, etc. And then after that, there's some reflection questions also in line with the chapter itself, and prompting you to just be very mindful about how you're engaging with the content and figuring out what are the thought patterns that you could interrogate or work through as a person. So I had an issue actually downloading the book in South Africa. Currently the book is not available in South Africa, but I spoke to the author Jasmine and I asked her to please make it available, because I know most of my audience is in South Africa. So for all my Southie girlies, period, we also need to be affirmed. We also need to rewire our brains and be positive and just take control, because I personally believe that everything begins in the mind, everything begins in the spirit, and then later will come to fruition in the physical. So that's just the structure of the book. What I liked about the book, I like that it's interactive. I like that we get an opportunity to write and think and reflect. And I think that also if you are reading it electronically, that just might mean that you would have to make notes on your exam pad or whatever the case may be, just on your laptop as you read, on your phone, your notes app, etc., with the specific questions in mind. What I didn't like about the book, yes, you know, for me, I have an issue sometimes with the books that, like, let's say the book was a printed version of the book, printed copy. Because the workbook, you're writing, physically writing on the book. When you turn the page, there's more text. So I think that authors specifically, please, when you write these books that have interactive elements where people actually have to physically write in the book, and that's the intention, please make concessions for the fact that ink or cookies or whatever the case may be may spill over to the next page and then damage the book on the other side. I understand that it may cost more money to print it that way, but or perhaps have a separate workbook that accompanies the book. That's just my thing, with books structured in that particular way. And what else? That's pretty much it. And also just the thing of it not being downloadable or accessible in South Africa, but that's something that will be fixed. The author can fix that. It's easy, you know, on Amazon. And then who would I recommend this book to? I would recommend this book to young girls, particularly maybe like pre-teens, early teens, going into adulthood, so early 20s. Why something like this is so important is because as you grow and you expand and you come into your own as a woman, it's important to be so intentional about what you consume. That was the time in my life I find myself feeling kind of out of balance or unsettled, or like having doubts about my identity and how I showed up in the world. I found like childhood, I was always very self-assured. I really knew who I was. But that age between like teens coming into age, puberty, yada, 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 early 20s, still trying to find your way in the world. And not to say like now I'm at my age, it's not to say that I have all the answers, but I definitely feel more grounded, and it's easier for me to kind of choose things and be intentional about what I will allow and what I won't, and not to necessarily feel guilty about it. And also just to know like who I am and how I show, and be cognizant of how I'm showing up in particular spaces. Although I'm not perfect, I'll never have all the answers, and I never will be perfect, but perfection is not the goal, ladies. But it is important to know exactly who you are and to show up just knowing what you bring to every engagement, and be intentional about what you will allow based on who you understand yourself to be. And that has nothing to do with other people. It has nothing to do with putting other people down. It's really just the inner work that you do, that, okay, separate from everybody else, so-and-so is doing whatever they're doing, but this is who I am. This is what I am capable of. This is what I desire. This is what I'm working on. And I am worthy of trying and doing and failing and trying again, and not being so caught up in the perfectionist trap, but also not feeling so low and so not valuable that you don't necessarily even give yourself the opportunity to try. So ladies, if you have read the book, please let me know. If you have any questions, or you have any books like it that you would like me to read and interrogate and or have a look through. And I must mention that this was a review copy, so thank you so much, Jasmine, for the review copy. She actually sent me another copy that I will be reading and reviewing. I'm currently reading now, and it's a similar type of style of writing about empowerment and Black women and Black girls in particular. So you know me, if you've known me for a long time, you know I'm all about the Black girl magic, period. So yeah, thanks so much. And if you haven't already, please remember to like, comment, and subscribe. Bye for now.